Okay, so today in our monthly topic of adapting to your changing body, we're speaking to Caris Pulliston. Caris, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm a psychotherapist. I work mainly with people with eating disorders or disordered eating, and I'm also a facilitator for an organisation called Beyond Chocolate, which is a no diet organisation.
So you must see so many women who don't want to adapt to a changing body shape.
Yes. Most people want to adapt their body to the shape that they feel they're comfortable with.
Yes, that must be really, that must put you up against something a lot of the time. And I would guess that the shape that people think they should be is the shape they're given by the media.
Quite often, yeah. I mean, I think we are surrounded by a lot of images which are unrealistic for most of us. I mean, for most of us to be the sizes that are portrayed as ideal, we'd have to be hungry for our entire lives, even if we could make ourselves do it. So no, it's not possible for most of us, because really we can control the shape of our bodies much less than we believe we can.
Yeah. So what techniques do you use with clients who have maybe a negative body image, or whose bodies have changed and they're struggling to keep up with the change?
Well, I think basically, I mean, our bodies are so important because they are, you know, where we live, and they're how we present ourselves to the world. And as I say, because society conditions us to think that, you know, we should be able to control our size, it's very difficult, because I think we feel judged when we don't, or when we can't. And the changes of the menopause, for some women, I think, are the first time they can feel truly out of control of the changes. You know, things like, you know, gaining weight around their middle, and hot flushes, things that feel that they're happening to you, basically. So, you know, women will say, you know, I haven't changed at all what I'm eating, and yet I've put on X. And I've gone up a dress size, I feel really uncomfortable, whatever it is. And I think that can be very, extremely difficult to cope with. Its control is a big thing for so many of us, I think, feeling in charge of our bodies and in charge of our lives. So the key thing, I think, is what we're trying to work with women is to be not so much loving their bodies. This isn't like a body positivity thing, as much as if you could say, body neutrality. Really, it's working with your body, not working against it, not trying to micromanage it in a way which is unsustainable and unfeasible.
So would that be things like focusing on the things that your body can do, focusing on how you can feel comfortable in your clothes, how your body transports you, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, you mentioned clothes there, and clothes are so important, because I think many women's wardrobes contain a selection of clothes, from, you know, thin clothes, fat clothes, everything in between. And there's nothing more dispiriting than either going to a wardrobe in the morning and seeing, you know, there's only about a quarter of it that actually fits, and forever looking at that dress which feels out of reach, or indeed wearing something which is the wrong size for you, and spending the entire day with the waistband digging in, because that is almost guaranteed to give you a sense all day that, you know, you're too fat, or whatever it might be. So I would say that a really positive thing can be clearing out all the clothes that either don't fit, or that don't make you feel good. There might be some clothes that fit, but actually you don't enjoy wearing them. Yeah. And you don't have to throw them away. Some women find it really difficult to just immediately go in there and throw it away, or give it to a charity shop. But just taking them out of your daily view and putting them somewhere can be helpful.
Absolutely. And presumably clothes sizing can be a real sort of trigger point for some people, you know, what the number says on the label.
Yes, indeed. It's completely inconsistent between different shops. very, very inconsistent. Even within the same shop, you can
Yes,
find that you're a totally different size in different garments. It really is just a number, and we are very hung up on it. I think as women, we can be.
absolutely. And I suppose just as our body is changing, it's an opportunity as we go through perimenopause to sort of encourage our brain to catch up with that change and develop a different outlook on ourselves in relation to the world, I suppose.
That's very true. I mean, I think one of the important questions is, what does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean to exist in a female body? And those questions are things that you can only really answer for yourself. What does it mean to you to be a woman? And I would suggest that most of that answer is going to be an internal experience of the world. As soon as we start putting everything on our externals, that changes over time, because change is inevitable.
And one thing that just amused me that we talked about just before we started recording this was we've both just started doing powerlifting.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed a huge change in my body shape. My shoulders have gone, I mean, a silly size now, but it's strength. And suddenly I'm buying bigger clothes because I need my strong shoulders to fit into them, not because I've failed in some capacity. And that's I suppose ties in with what you're saying about the body neutrality, that the number ceases to be important. It's just about being comfortable and being strong.
Yeah, and that idea of having somehow failed because our body's changing as part of a completely natural process, that's really something that's so unhelpful. And I think tying our happiness to a particular body size or a particular number on the scale is never going to be a long-lasting route to well-being.
Absolutely. So as we change shape, we can change mindset so that we have the second half of our life not beholden to these numbers on labels on the scale and so on.
Yeah, there's something about being present. There's always, although I guess for some women, or women maybe, that there are some things which would come under the banner of loss in menopause, but there are also some of the benefits of growing older and maturing, and so staying in the present rather than forever looking backwards to, I mean, I think we had a Beyond Chocolate workshop once where a woman was part of an exercise asking the women to just imagine what their ideal body might look like. And at the end of this, she was quite shocked, because her ideal body in her mind wasn't just smaller and a different shape, but it was actually sort of 20 years younger. There's a way that our imaginations can make these things like unattainable. And in a sense, it's like the whole Buddhist idea of the desire, creating the unhappiness. Whereas if we're staying present with, what, like you said before, what we can do, what our bodies can do, moving our bodies in ways that we enjoy, maybe looking at taking up an embodied practice like yoga or conscious dance or anything like that, any sort of, even meditation. You can get loads of stuff like for free off the internet and apps and things, or join a class with other women, and just move your body in ways which allow you to celebrate what it can do.
Absolutely. And I guess the overwhelming point here is accept the changes, don't try to fight them. Trying to diet back to the shape you were when you were 20 isn't never going to get you there, is it?
I think that's probably true for like 97% of women. I think there's always going to be some who can stick to, a very draconian eating plan in perpetuity. But for the vast majority of us, that is not a way that we can live. We're simply not able to do it. And the thing is, as well, it's sometimes in life we think we have to feel it before we can do it. You have to feel this acceptance and all of that before we can actually act on it. Whereas taking some small steps, like for example with the clothes, making those actions, you may find that your actual attitude follows, it can follow behind. It's about consciously learning to care for our body as it is in the here and now, as you would, you know, it's very hackneyed to say, you know, like you would for your best friend, you know, but it's true. If you can be your body's best friend and keep connected to your body as it is and experiencing it as it is, that's a very positive thing.
And going down the best friend analogy, you don't go around loving your best friend's body, you accept it as the vessel that your best friend lives in, don't you?
Yeah, it's only part of you, you know. We're so much more than our bodies. We are so much more. And you know, focusing on that as well, looking at, you know, what do I want for this part of my life in general, because we can over focus. Obviously it can become out of proportion in terms of the amount of thought it takes up, and that's something to be aware of. I think what can really help is joining a community of women who are likely to be supportive. So for example, the Beyond Chocolate community is an incredibly supportive place, and that's on Facebook, or your menopause website, for example. Women all going through the same thing. It's what we fill our minds with can make it harder or easier.
Yes, and social media can be a dangerous place for fueling the negative. And actually, just like sorting through the clothes, sorting through social media and getting rid of the things that are giving you negative ideas about your body can be incredibly freeing.
Oh, definitely. And it's I think that's true right through life, and I know including menopause. You know, I mean, how many women have been left with the impression that you should have a baby and then ping back into shape like a celebrity. This is not realistic for most of us, and it's a huge source of misery, unfortunately. So surrounding yourselves with things which are supportive and which are going to allow you to explore who you are at this time of your life in a positive way, in a can-do type of frame of mind.
Like that. So treat your body as a neutral vessel that is getting you through life. Focus on the clothes you like wearing. Focus on doing the things you like doing. That sounds pretty good to me.
I think it's a much healthier, and I mean that mentally and physically, healthier, emotionally too, way to be than trying to continually force ourselves and fight with ourselves. And it's also, it doesn't equate to quote unquote letting yourself go, which in itself is a really horrendous sort of sexist statement. What on earth does it mean? But in fact, just the opposite. You know, when we care for ourselves, we become the best version of who we can be.
Yes, from the inside, not from the outside.
Inside out. And the changes on the inside, the care on the inside, the attitude on the inside reflects on the outside.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, I think that's given some good advice for people who are just struggling with these changes in their body.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.